Welcome to another episode of Infographic Instant with Brian Michael. In this episode, we'll be looking at the extent to which bank concentration correlates with changes in wealth across countries. In other words, looking at large banks or small banks in Mexico, Argentina, Russia, do we see that the size of these financial institutions correlate with the speed by which people get wealthy in those countries? Now, naturally, this is an important question for large broker-dealers or international banks looking to penetrate into markets like Myanmar or in South Africa, because they want to know whether they should try and go in as a large bank or start with a small representative office. Now, turning our attention to the infographic, of course we cannot answer that question directly, but these data do give us some places where we might want to look. Specifically, the infographic looks at the relationship between changes in bank concentration and changes in the growth of wealth across countries. We see that overall across countries there's a negative relationship between these variables. That means that as banks get bigger, growth of wealth gets smaller. Big banks usually do not correlate with large increases in wealthy people. However, when we break down these data by region, we see two trends, as we've seen in most of our data in this episode. Within the OECD countries and within the upper income jurisdictions generally, we see that yes, there is a correlation between bank concentration and the growth of wealth, which we would expect given some of the history that we've seen in recent years. And in the rest of the world, we see a negative relationship. So what we know for sure is that correlation does not equal causality, of course, and that there's no way to know for sure whether the size of a bank contributes directly to the growth of wealth. However, to the extent these data are valid, they might be useful in targeting large broker-dealers and private banks' marketing strategy in particular countries, whether to go big or go small. And just to remind you, this is from a paper where we have looked at some marketing strategies for the large broker-dealers in trying to increase the amount of wealth under management and to increase the number of high net worth individuals as clients. This has been Infographic Instant with Brian Michael.